Welcome to another Straight Up Tuesday tip. I'm 𝗤𝘃𝗀𝗀, licensed agent with Second City Real Estate. With me, as always, is Mark 𝗬𝘃𝗀𝗏, founder and owner of 𝗤𝘃𝗱𝗰𝗀𝘀. And with us again, we have quality builders. So for those who haven't listened, founder Jonathan Clem was on episode 76. And today's guest, back at episode 155, she's back with us again, 𝗤𝘃𝗲𝗏𝗵𝘁. And I apologize if that wasn't perfect. I tried.
It's fine. I'll go again, but yeah.
So 𝗤𝘃𝗲𝗏, question, we have a lot of people there looking to do different value add or rehab projects, and you guys are very heavy in the construction space. How would you advise Chicago investors to appropriately vet a contractor?
Wonderful question. So I think the first thing, which is common knowledge, but maybe not so, is to always ensure that they have the correct licenses and insurance, because you don't want something to happen on the project and you find out that your contractor wasn't carrying the correct insurance. So always making sure that they have the license to operate in the area, in the city of Chicago, and making sure that they have the license, the appropriate license to back that up.
What do you can you share with us which people need to be licensed? Like if you're doing plumbing, electric, or painting, like where is a license necessary within the trades?
So it's necessary for the general contractor, and which is what we do as the general contractor. We have our general contractor license, but also it's a very good point to make sure that the general contractor are using subs that have the appropriate license also. So the plumbing license and the electrician license, and usually if the project involves roof, like a roofing license. So making sure that not just your general contractor has the correct license, but also asking them to submit or let you see the license for the subcontractors also.
Awesome. Continue on.
Okay. Another one will be to make sure that you do a lot of research when you're selecting a contractor. Unfortunately, we all know or have experienced too many stories about you thought it's gonna be a perfect fit, and then later on learning that it's not. So unfortunately, I've learned from that already. So making sure that you are researching them appropriately, check their online reviews, and go even further and ask for a reference for their client list. Make sure you're calling several of their previous clients and really ask them really great questions, especially things that may be like a deal breaker for you. Ask them like, how does this contractor communicate? Check the quality of the work that they've done. Just really, really get in there and ask not just surface level question, but really deep questions that really helps you to figure out whether or not it's a good fit for you. So the one that I always ask is, okay, so your project looks great, but how long did it take to get to this? How was the schedule did it differ from what the schedule was supposed to be initially? Just trying to see exactly like the difference. And things happen in construction, obviously. Schedule is going to be delayed. Usually it's very, very, the chances are very slim that the schedule will be delayed. But when it was delayed, were you told immediately that there would be a schedule delay? And how did the contractor try to minimize that? So I always ask about the schedule, always ask about communication, because you want to know whether your contractor is going to pick up whenever you need them to answer the phone. Unfortunately, a lot of contractors are busy doing so many things that it might not be possible to reach them or their office. So ask about the communication piece, ask about the schedule, ask about how they do payments. So really get in there and talk to the clients. And I mean, usually people will send clients that they've done a good job for, people that like them, but really get in there and ask your question in different ways to kind of get the information that you need to select the contractor.
When you're researching them, what are some red flags that you really are either deal breakers or make you get nervous?
Oh, okay. So definitely the online reviews, if they have a lot of negative. So the online reviews is very tricky, right? Because we know that for the most part, people that are dissatisfied are the ones that are writing online reviews. It might be a little harder to get people that had a great time with you to write reviews. But looking at the reviews, if there's a consistent point that the clients are always saying, if they're saying that this contractor doesn't show up, this contractor doesn't answer my call when I'm calling. So those are huge red flags. And especially looking at their reply, if they don't reply to that review at all, big red flag. Or if they reply to their review and not take accountability, because we know that things go wrong all the time in construction, but if they can take full accountability and say, hey, I take full ownership of this, this is how we've worked to correct this, that's great when reading an online review. But if there's no reply at all to like bad reviews, or just not taking full accountability of whatever went wrong with that project.
Now, there's a lot of, call it mom and pop contractors that maybe for a lot of our viewers are using that do not have an online presence at all, and might have a common name like Anthony Hernandez or something like that. And you Google up Anthony Hernandez, there's 3,000 Anthony Hernandez in Chicago, I think it was, if I remember that one day. But that being said, what are other red flags when they're digging into their backgrounds?
Well, that's what you're experience from the start. If they're supposed to meet you at a walkthrough and they're late, do not communicate first, and that they're going to be late, or just not show up at all and then call back later with some excuse about why they couldn't show up. Huge red flag, because how we believe at Quality Builders, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if they're already at that point not communicating very well, you can kind of expect that throughout the rest of the project if you decide to go with them. If you're asking questions and they don't seem to, they kind of talk around the question and not really answering the question, another huge red flag, because you do want someone that's very knowledgeable about the process for permitting, about inspections, about whatever it is that you're going to need on a project. You do want a lot of knowledge on that. So if they're not able to answer questions directly or don't really have the answers that you need, that's another huge red flag. When you go on site, if they do invite you to come onto their current project, if you go on site and you don't like how like the project site is being kept, if there's like trash everywhere, a lot of different safety hazards, then that's another red flag, because you don't want that on your project.
Housekeeping's a big one. I've been on jobs where it's like, man, like how do you even get any work done? Like, it looks, you've actually finished this part over here, and it doesn't look like you started it because it's so messy.
Yeah.
Quick question for you along these lines. You know, Chicago is so diverse and we have so many different opportunities here. Is the same do you feel you can use the same GC on a, turnover in a C area versus, luxury A, $50,000 kitchen, right? Or do you feel everyone should be specialized in some sort of, whether it be geographically, by class, et cetera?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. Very wonderful question. So I think it depends on the company. There are some companies that can do a wide range. And I know with us, because we're investors ourselves and we have different classes of properties. So for us and maybe some other general contractor, they might be able to work in different spaces and different finish levels and different neighborhoods. But there is something to be said about having someone that specializes also, right? Like there's something to be said about someone that knows how to do one thing really well and get in there and get it done. So I don't know. It really just depends, I think.
No, good answer. I agree. I agree with your assessment there.
Right.
I got off the phone the other day with somebody it was somebody I was trying to, he just asked a bunch of questions, and I started almost everything off with "it depends." Because there's a lot of variables. He was at wide range of what he was doing, and I was trying to lay out the different scenarios that every time it did depend. So it's funny.
Yeah. Anything else? If someone's looking to get a contractor, any other knowledge or nuggets to share?
So I think it's really important to be very crystal clear about your expectations and the deadlines, because sometimes, as investors, you have a deadline that you're trying to meet. For the most part, a lot of people want to be done with their project before, peak renting season, which is usually like around spring. No one really likes to move in the winter. So be very clear about your expectations for the project and your deadlines, and see if it's something that the contractor can meet. So when you're having this initial conversation, you need to let them know, this is what I'm expecting from a GC. Is this something that you can do? This is the deadline I'm kind of working with. Not just like a very generic, when do you think you're going to be done with this project? Because that's a lot of people say, it's like, oh, just can you give me a duration? If you have very hard set deadlines, let them know as soon as possible, to make sure that they're able to meet that. Because a lot of times, like, yeah, we can do that. Like you get that a lot. Like, yeah, we can do that. But really ask the ask the deeper questions to make sure that that's something that they can meet for you.
One other big flag right now is based on where we're at in the market, like there's a lot of things going on. And if someone's coming to you like desperate for work, there's a big problem there.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. The person that can't wait to start your job or can't wait to get that down payment, that's a red flag.
That's actually a great point. That's a great point. Oh yeah.
That and cash flow for them up front. So sometimes I know for a lot of people, they handle materials and their contractors do labor only. If you're doing labor only, there's no need to put a chunky down payment up front. I mean, they technically don't have any expense till that first week they got to pay their labor. So keep that in mind.
That's a good point, because what I was going to say is like to set payment milestones and spell out what needs to happen before this payment happens. So like you just mentioned, like putting down a huge down payment is a big no-no. It's a big red flag. You need to set payment milestones. Is it going to be when payment is done, that the next payment is due? So look for a contractor that's able to actually, in the contract, write down the payment milestones before they get paid. Otherwise, I've had contractors that come to me and say like, I need to get paid $20,000. I'm like, well, what have you done? Why? And they can't really explain why they need that. And then they come back 2 weeks later, I need another 5,000 or 10,000. So make sure that the payment milestones are very spelled out very clearly and the dependencies before they can get that payment.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know where you stand. You operate mostly in A class type stuff, but I know for us, for C and D, we worked with a lot of vendors and contractors that they were not good with cash. They were not good with cash flow. So we paid them every week. But it was all the more important that they, after 2 or 3 weeks, the milestones were very important. So we did much smaller dollar amounts and almost felt like it kept them coming back for more next week. But for us in C and D class, that was something we struggled with.
Yeah, where we struggle is when we have a lender requesting the partial lien waivers, and then it just gets it's almost just easier just to wait and take a big chunk, right? It's cleaner on paper. Yes, however, it's harder on them from a cash flow perspective. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Like, I don't know. The lien waivers throw like a new wrinkle in besides just the one-to-one relationship of getting in a rhythm.
Yeah. So I'm sure you do this, Tom, but if you do have a loan, you do have specific loan requirements or I've been on loans where you only have literally 1 or 2 draws you're allowed, which means either he's got to wait or you got to come out of pocket. So make sure that you're upfront with what your expectations are along the lines, what your loan might be too.
Yep. Yeah, even if it's allowed multiple, more times than not, the way they're structured for those who haven't had an acquisition loan is when you take the rehab, your balance goes up and thus your payment goes up, right? Yes. So you're playing this game of like, all right, my capital versus that capital of like, do I wait to keep a couple months of a low payment? Like, and meanwhile, you got to pay your guys. They're not sitting on that draw. You have to pay. Like they're doing the work and they need to be paid accordingly. So it's kind of like this game of maximizing the return, but on the same side, like, not killing yourself from a liquidity standpoint.
Before we sign off here, one more thing. And I think it's been one of the biggest things. And my business partner, Brian, preached this to me for a decade before it really got drilled into me. But if you got good guys and you got consistent guys, pay them on time, every time, right away, and maybe even pay them early and take care of them around the holidays. And if something happens to them, like if you got good guys, or it might be a handyman, or you got just guys that have worked with you on X amount of projects, take care of them. And that's huge.
Yeah. When that boiler goes down, or when you have that flood and like they're getting calls from 20 people, like you've earned your priority by taking care of them 365. Yep.
A lot of what we're talking about today is new vendors coming to the circuit. But if you have people and you've had a good proven track record, take care of them, pay them right away, pay them fast. Yeah.
Cool. Ready for a Chicago fact?
I'm ready. And we're playing for Erica Thompson today, who ordered a pair of kids jogging pants. So either we have a younger crowd listening, which is exciting, or we got someone that's decking out, blinging out their kids now too. So I'll take it.
That's awesome. I still want to walk into Home Depot and see someone else wearing the hoodie.
Yes.
That's like my goal. I've seen people, say, hey, I love the podcast, but I want to be in a random spot and see someone wearing the merch. That's my goal. So,
all right. This next best thing will be somebody tagging you on a Facebook ad, showing them somewhere in Home Depot with the shirt on. So that'll be the next best thing.
There you go. All right. So Mark, I would not have gotten this one, full disclosure. You have 4 options here, but you're more of a history buff. You might know this. So in 1933, this Chicago mayor was assassinated while shaking hands with FDR. The bullet was actually meant for the president, but the assassin was hit with a purse right when he pulled the trigger. And so our mayor got assassinated while shaking his hand. And that mayor was A, William Thompson, B, Fred Bussey, C, 𝗦𝘃𝗲𝗀𝗵𝘁, D, Anton 𝗠𝗏𝒃.
𝗠𝗏𝒃. D.
Man, you're
𝗠𝗏𝒃.
good. Did you know it or you?
I did. That was, I think that was in
22nd Street, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I did. That was it. So, all right. Awesome. All right. Erica, thank you very much for buying the kids sweatpants, whether it's for you or your kid. Either way, we're grateful. And we'll also get you out a $50 gift card brought to you by Renovo. So thank you, Renovo, for always sponsoring.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you again for coming back. I always love return guests. Tom, thank you as always. Listeners, check out our website. We got a whole bunch of different new tools on there right now. And then also, wherever you're listening to this, please leave us a 5 stars or leave us 5 stars with some words. We'll take words. We need, me and Tom could always use words of encouragement that you like what you're listening to. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tom. And then listeners, we'll see you Thursday.
Thanks all.
Thank you.